You're scrolling again. It's late, maybe past midnight, and the blue light of your phone paints shadows across your ceiling. You didn't mean to open the app. You never do. But here you are, thumb moving almost on its own, watching life unfold in perfectly curated squares. There's your college roommate, fingers intertwined with someone new at a farmer's market. There's your cousin, posting another anniversary caption filled with emojis and inside jokes you'll never understand. There's that acquaintance from work, the one who complained about being single just 6 months ago, now glowing in engagement photos like she discovered some secret door you've been walking past your whole life. You close the app. The silence rushes back like water filling a hole in sand. And in that silence, a familiar voice begins its interrogation. What's wrong with me? Why does everyone else figure this out except me? Am I fundamentally unlovable? Maybe you've lost count of how many times you've had this conversation with yourself. Maybe you've stopped counting altogether because counting felt like keeping score in a game you never signed up to play. You come home after another almost relationship, another promising connection that dissolved like morning fog. You smile politely when relatives ask about your love life at holiday dinners, perfecting the art of changing subjects. You buy your own birthday cake again, and somewhere between the candles and the wish, you wonder if hoping has become a form of self-torture. Let me be clear about something before we go any further. This isn't a conversation for people who've chosen solitude and found peace in it. That's a valid path, a beautiful one for many. No, this is for you, the one who wants connection, who has tried, who has been bruised by trying, and who has slowly begun to believe that maybe the problem is simply being who you are. Here's what I need you to hear. You are not a walking failure because you've been single for years. You are not broken merchandise that everyone else can see is damaged except you. You are someone carrying a story. And there's a profound difference between destiny and mechanism. Destiny whispers, "This is written in the stars. This is your fate." It suggests permanence, inevitability, a cosmic verdict already delivered. But mechanism says something entirely different. It says, "I learned to protect myself this way. This is how I survived." Today, we're going to talk about mechanisms, about attachment histories etched into your nervous system, about rejection beliefs that operate like invisible software running in the background of every interaction, about protection strategies that once saved you but now imprison you, about contexts that shrink your world until opportunity can barely squeeze through the door. Not to blame you, never to blame you, but to hand you back a map, and maybe, just maybe, some breath. Before we dive into any theory or framework, I want to give this experience a name, because unnamed things have power over us in ways that named things don't. Unchosen loneliness. It's when the desire for connection burns bright, but every bridge you try to build crumbles before you can cross it. It's exhausting to hear well-meaning people say your person will come along as if your pain has an expiration date stamped somewhere you just can't see. And in the quiet hours, questions surface that you're almost afraid to admit. Did God forget about me? Am I somehow impossible to love? No, you are not weak for still wanting a relationship after so many false starts. Your loneliness isn't dramatic. It isn't a lack of faith or gratitude. It's a serious human experience that deserves tenderness, not dismissal. Now, I want to offer you an image, a metaphor we'll return to throughout our time together. Picture a house with an alarm system. On the first day, that alarm saved you. It detected real danger and did exactly what it was designed to do. On the second day, it protected you again. But by the third day, something shifted. The alarm started screaming at every shadow, every gust of wind, every falling leaf. It couldn't tell the difference between a threat and a tree branch anymore. Your alarm, and we all have one, is the collection of habits and reflexes you've developed to avoid pain. It's the way you predict rejection before you've even said hello. It's the pattern of choosing only unavailable people, relationships that were doomed before they began. It's the impulse to disappear the moment someone genuinely steps closer. That alarm has served you. It learned from every wound, every disappointment, every moment someone made you feel small. It was trying to keep you safe. But here's the painful truth. The same alarm that once protected you from genuine harm now triggers at the sound of a gentle knock. It can't distinguish between someone who will hurt you and someone who might actually stay. The very reflex that saved you has become the wall that keeps love out. And recognizing this, truly seeing it, is where everything begins to change. Now I want to introduce you to someone. Not a sermon, not a theological argument, a human being. His name is Jeremiah, and he lived in a world where marriage wasn't just expected, it was the measure of a life properly lived. Every adult paired off, every home filled with children. It was as natural as breathing, as inevitable as seasons changing. And into this world, Jeremiah received an instruction that set him apart, like a stone dropped into still water. Do not marry. Imagine what that meant. Imagine walking through your village, your city, your community, carrying an invisible mark that everyone can somehow see. Imagine the sideways glances at gatherings, the whispered questions that weren't really questions at all. So, Jeremiah, still no family. What's wrong with you? What are you waiting for? He had no answer that would satisfy them. How do you explain a calling that looks, from the outside, like failure? Here's what you need to know about Jeremiah. He was someone who felt deeply, inconveniently. He didn't move through life with the thick skin others seemed to possess. He carried the weight of being seen as too much, too intense, too emotional, too difficult. The kind of person others rolled their eyes about when he left the room. Throughout his life, he complained. He wept. He wrote laments that read like letters from the bottom of a well. In his rawest moments, he spoke to God with an honesty that borders on accusation. I am alone. This hurts. Why did you make me like this? His story isn't identical to yours, but listen for the echoes. The sensation of being fundamentally different. The exhausting awareness of not fitting the script everyone else seems to follow effortlessly. The fear that whispers in the dark. What if I'm the only one who never gets chosen? What if everyone else crosses the finish line and I'm still standing at the start? And yet, and this is crucial, Jeremiah was never reduced to his loneliness. He had a voice, and he used it. He had purpose that burned even when circumstances were brutal. He had real connections, even if they were few and frequently complicated. His life reminds us of something we need to hear slowly, perhaps more than once. A person's dignity is not measured by their relationship status. There are contexts and callings that shape whether, when, and how someone experiences romantic love. And even in stories where romance never arrives, there is meaning, there is presence, there is a life worth living and sharing. Jeremiah didn't become a symbol of romantic failure. He became a symbol of someone who, facing a world that didn't understand him, refused to abandon his own voice. He kept speaking, he kept feeling, he kept showing up. Maybe that's not the ending you're hoping for right now. Maybe you want the version where he finally meets someone, where the loneliness resolves into a love story. I understand that. But perhaps there's something even more important, Hera. Truth that can hold you whether love arrives tomorrow or takes its time. You are not less because you are alone. So if Jeremiah shows us that loneliness doesn't diminish dignity, we're still left with a question. Where did these patterns come from? Why does my alarm trigger so easily? Let's trace the blueprint. Early experiences shape beliefs. Beliefs sustain strategies. strategies extract costs. It's a chain reaction that started long before you had words for it. Here's the simple version. When you grow up with consistent warmth, when reaching out is met with arms that hold your nervous system learns a fundamental lesson. I can approach. It's safe to be seen. But when you grow up with criticism, unpredictability, or silence that stretches like desert, your body learns something different. Showing myself is dangerous. Wanting is risky. The safest thing is to watch, to wait, to protect. Attachment researchers have documented this for decades. Predictable care becomes an internal map of trust. When that care is missing or conditional, the body learns vigilance instead. And here's what I need you to understand. Vigilance isn't a curse. It's protection. It's your system doing exactly what it was designed to do, keep you safe from repeated hurt. But protection, carried too long, becomes its own kind of weight. Maybe you heard things growing up. Comments about your appearance, your personality, your way of being in the world. Too intense, not attractive enough, too nice, too complicated. Maybe you experienced humiliation around early crushes' laughter, where there should have been kindness. Maybe you simply watched the adults around you and learned that love was a prize for performance, something earned rather than given. Without realizing it, sentences etched themselves into your operating system. I'm not desirable. If people really knew me, they'd leave. Showing interest makes me a joke. Someone like me only gets to be the friend. These beliefs aren't eternal truths carved in stone. They're interpretations, stories your alarm system consolidated to protect you from pain that kept repeating. And from these beliefs, you built strategies. Some look like virtues: becoming everyone's counselor, throwing yourself into work, excelling at service. Others are escapes, wearing disguises, only pursuing people who clearly aren't available, investing in impossible situations, vanishing when someone shows genuine interest, quitting before you've really tried. Then there's context. If your life is a triangle between home, work, and the same small circle, the same faces, the same conversations, your world shrinks. This isn't just about character, it's about opportunity. Intimacy requires social skills, plus presence, plus repeated encounters. It's hard to practice swimming when you never get near water. The costs accumulate quietly: chronic loneliness, the feeling of being behind some invisible schedule, little practice in flirting, in sustaining tender conversation, a cycle of self-accusation after every interaction. I messed up again. Your body keeps the record. Tightness in your chest when you see couples holding hands, tension flooding your shoulders in social settings, sleepless hours replaying every word you said. That strange cocktail of nausea and excitement when someone looks at you a moment too long. This isn't a diagnosis. It's your body speaking its language, saying, "This matters. This feels risky." And it's telling the truth. Here's the cruel paradox no one warned you about. The very things that make you beautiful, your sensitivity, your loyalty, your careful heart, these qualities saved you. They were your shields in a world that sometimes cut deep. But shields held too long, gripped too tight, stop being protection. They become prisons. Think about it. Your sensitivity allowed you to read rooms, to feel what others missed, to offer empathy that made people feel truly seen. But without boundaries, sensitivity mutates into Suddenly you're scanning every face for danger, reading rejection in neutral expressions, interpreting silence as verdict. A person glances at their phone during conversation, and your alarm screams. They're bored, they want to leave. You've already failed. Your loyalty made you someone who stays, who commits, who doesn't abandon ship at the first storm. But without limits, loyalty becomes chains to stories that ended long ago. You can't release what's already gone, because Letting go feels like betrayal of them, of the hope, of the version of yourself that believed it would work. Your prudence protected you from reckless decisions, from giving your heart to anyone who smiled in your direction. But without flexibility, prudence freezes into paralysis. You wait for certainty that will never come, for guarantees that don't exist, for the perfect moment that keeps retreating like horizon. Do you see it? The same reflex that once saved your life now blocks the life you're longing to live. Jeremiah knew this tension. His sensitivity made him a vessel for profound truth, but it also made every rejection cut bone deep. His loyalty to his calling kept him anchored when everything screamed to quit, but it also meant years of isolation he didn't choose. His careful discernment protected him from false paths, but it couldn't protect him from the loneliness of being misunderstood. Even our prophets carried this paradox in their bones. Here's how the cycle feeds itself. Fear of rejection leads to avoidance. Avoidance means little practice. Little practice creates awkward interactions. Awkward interactions invite more rejection. More rejection confirms the fear. And around it goes, a wheel spinning faster with each rotation, and the conclusion your mind draws: the problem must be me. No. The problem is an alarm system that was never recalibrated. The problem is protection that doesn't know the war is over. The path forward isn't killing your sensitivity. That would be like solving blindness by removing your eyes. It isn't abandoning loyalty or throwing prudence to the wind. The path is learning to hold these gifts with open hands instead of clenched fists. To be sensitive without abandoning yourself. To be loyal without imprisoning yourself. To be careful without freezing yourself. Because here's what protecting yourself from all rejection actually accomplishes. It also protects you from every possibility of being chosen. And somewhere inside you, beneath the exhaustion and the fear, there's still a part that wants to be chosen. That part deserves a voice too. So what does all of this look like when it's not theory? When it's Tuesday afternoon and you're just trying to live your life? Let me show you yourself without labels. You type a message, delete it, type again, change a word, delete the whole thing, start over. 10 attempts for a single text. Because every syllable feels like it could detonate something. You finally hit send, and immediately wish you could reach through the screen and snatch it back. Someone invites you somewhere, gathering, a dinner, a chance to be among people. You say yes because saying no feels like admitting something you're not ready to name. But when the day arrives, you cancel. The excuse is perfect, polished, entirely believable. What's true underneath is simpler and harder. You're terrified of ruining everything just by being there. You know their social media better than their voice. You've memorized their posts, their likes, the tiny details they scatter across the internet like breadcrumbs. But face to face, you become someone else, quieter, smaller. The words that flowed so easily in your imagination dry up like rivers in drought. At parties, you find a job, kitchen duty, helping the host, organizing something that doesn't need organizing, anything to have a function, a reason to exist in the space that isn't just being there. Because just being there, without purpose, feels like standing naked in a crowd. And afterward, you replay the entire evening like a prosecutor reviewing evidence. Every silence you left unfilled, every laugh that might have been too loud or not loud enough, every moment you spoke and immediately wished you hadn't. The trial runs for hours, sometimes days, and the verdict is always guilty. Here's the strangest part. When someone actually shows interest, when the thing you've wanted begins to materialize, something inside you splits. One half leans forward, breathless with hope. The other half grabs a magnifying glass and starts hunting for flaws, for reasons for evidence that this will end badly so you can end it first. Your body has learned to contract slightly when you witness public affection, not because you hate love, because seeing it reminds you of what you haven't touched, and that reminder lands somewhere tender. A simple message arrives. Hey, how are you? You stare at it for 30 minutes. Such ordinary words, but each one feels loaded with invisible weight. How much truth is too much? How much lightness seems fake? The cursor blinks like a heartbeat while you calculate risks that exist mostly in your imagination. You've become everyone's relationship advisor. Friends bring you their complications, their heartbreaks, their impossible situations, and you offer wisdom that surprises even you. But when it's your turn, mouth dry, mind blank. The counselor has no counsel for himself. Jeremiah wrote poetry for others that he couldn't apply to his own aching. He spoke truth to nations while his own questions went unanswered. This isn't character failure. This is protection working overtime. We've walked through the pain together. We've traced the map of how you got here. Now I want to offer something different. Not a miracle cure. Not a promise of romance by next month. Something smaller and more honest. Micro steps that widen opportunity, train presence, and teach your body that rejection hurts but doesn't destroy. First step, name the mechanism, not the defect. When you feel the impulse to flee, to sabotage, to disappear, pause. Say to yourself, this is my fear of rejection trying to protect me. Give language to the alarm. You're not impossible to love. Your fear is loud today. Naming returns agency to your hands. Anchor phrase. I'm not unlovable. My fear is just high right now. Second step. Open one new window of contact per week. Relationships grow from repeated encounters, from showing up again and again in the same spaces. Choose something concrete that expands your world. A class that interests you. A book club, a recreational sport, volunteer work, even a dating app used with intention rather than desperation. Commit to 8 weeks of consistent presence. This isn't about finding your person tomorrow. It's about teaching your nervous system that approach can become routine. Anchor phrase. I can't control who likes me, but I can control how many chances I create. Third step. Practice small, safe vulnerabilities. Intimacy isn't born from grand confessions. It grows from tiny exposures, repeated over time. In ordinary conversations, offer something slightly more personal. Today was heavy for me because, or I get nervous at events like this, or simply would you sit with me, 1 centimeter at a time. Anchor phrase. I can show a small piece of myself without showing everything at once. Fourth step. Embrace manageable rejections. Avoiding all rejection amplifies fear. Facing small rejections teaches your body that pain passes. Create controlled risks. Start a conversation. Invite someone for coffee. Send the message you'd normally delete. If they say no, have a care plan ready. A 15-minute walk, a warm shower, 3 sentences written about what you learned. Anchor phrase. If they say no, I still remain whole. Fifth step. Rewrite the internal story. That automatic thought nobody will ever want me can become something truer. It hasn't happened yet, and I'm learning things I didn't know before. On hard days, tell yourself, today hurt, so today I'll be gentler with myself. Progress isn't linear, but you're not standing still. You're taking steps. Anchor phrase. It takes time, but I'm moving forward. Jeremiah learned this in his own way. He didn't have a formula for ending his isolation, but he found rhythms, moments of speaking, moments of silence, moments of showing up even when everything in him wanted to hide. He kept choosing presence over paralysis. These aren't manipulation tactics. They're boundaries that protect your energy while leaving doors open for genuine connection. Small doors, but doors nonetheless. Let's come back to Jeremiah. Not with a sermon, but with honesty. He lived through isolation. He was misunderstood by nearly everyone who should have understood. He cried out loud when crying was considered weakness. And here's what you need to sit with. He didn't get a great love story at the end. There was no final chapter where someone finally saw him, chose him, completed him, and still his life overflowed with meaning. Here's the difference between his story and yours. Jeremiah received a specific instruction not to marry. It was his assignment, his burden, his strange calling. You didn't receive that instruction. What you received, most likely, was a sequence of experiences that taught your nervous system a brutal lesson. Loving is too dangerous. But look at what Jeremiah did inside his pain. He found ways to remain present. He chose his moments. He spoke when it mattered. He maintained conversation with himself, with others, with God. Devon, when the silence around him was deafening. He didn't let isolation become the whole story. You can find your own ways to stay in relationship, with your own life, with friends who actually see you, with community that holds space for your complexity, with faith, if that's part of your path. None of this guarantees a romantic ending, but it guarantees something perhaps more fundamental: dignity, presence, a life that counts even before someone counts it with you. Maybe you feel, like Jeremiah, at a disadvantage in a world that treats marriage like a diploma of successful adulthood. I'm not here to romanticize loneliness or pretend it doesn't ache. I'm also not here to turn relationship into an idol that determines your worth. I'm here to remind you, your value doesn't depend on fitting into a couple's portrait. While you attend, waiting is its own kind of work. You can tend to what's within reach, recalibrate the alarm, open windows of contact, practice small vulnerabilities, survive the no without shattering, rewrite the story you tell yourself in the dark. Now, let's return one final time to that alarm system on your wall. You're not going to rip it out. That would leave you defenseless, and you've worked too hard to protect yourself to abandon protection entirely. What you're going to do is recalibrate. How? By watching when it fires without cause, by naming what's happening instead of just reacting, by breathing 3 slow cycles before you let the alarm dictate your next move, by choosing one step, however small, in the direction of what you actually want. In the next 24 hours, I'm asking you to choose one concrete gesture, send an honest message, show up somewhere new, schedule coffee with someone you've been meaning to know better, or say a no that protects your energy for a better yes. One gesture, that's all. Not a revolution, a recalibration. Let me say again what I said at the beginning, because some truths need repetition to sink beneath the skin. Many people who never manage to find a relationship aren't broken. They aren't cursed. They aren't destined for permanent solitude. What they carry is a combination attachment histories written in childhood, rejection beliefs running like background software, protection strategies that once made sense, and environments starved of real opportunity. These elements conspire to block intimacy before it can take root. But here's what changes everything. When these mechanisms are seen, named, and worked through in small steps, instead of being treated as divine punishment or personal failure, something shifts. The possibility of connection opens, not as fantasy, but as lived reality. More presence, less self-accusation, a different kind of breathing. No relationship comes with a guarantee. Anyone who promises you otherwise is selling something, but staying trapped in the same patterns. That's almost a guaranteed repetition of the same walls, of watching the same movie play out with different actors. If you change one step, the entire dance begins to transform. You are not your history of rejections. You are not the sum of every no you've collected. You are someone in the process of learning to approach without abandoning yourself. to open without losing your center, to risk without requiring certainty. Jeremiah walked his strange path without a partner, but he walked it fully. He felt everything. He spoke his truth, even when no one wanted to hear it. He remained in conversation with life, with purpose, with the divine even when human connection failed him. His story doesn't end with romance, but it doesn't end with defeat either. It ends with a voice that refused to go silent. Looking at him and looking at your own life, maybe you can remember this. Being loved doesn't depend on fitting a template. Learning to relate, to connect, to show up, that's a path anyone can walk. And that path can begin today, with small steps, with courage that doesn't feel like courage yet. One last thing. If this conversation has stirred something deep, something that feels too heavy to carry alone, please reach out for professional support. There's no shame in needing guidance through terrain this rough. It's actually wisdom. And in the next 24 hours, choose one small, observable gesture. Send that message, accept that invitation, have that conversation, or simply say no to something that drains you, so you have energy for something that fills you. Then notice your breathing. If it opens even slightly, if there's a little more space between inhale and exhale, that's the alarm recalibrating. That's you beginning to live inside your own house again, with doors that open from the inside, doors that might, one day, welcome someone in without every sensor screaming danger. You've been standing guard for so long, maybe it's time to rest. Maybe it's time to let the door open, just a crack, and see what the light looks like from the other side.